everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner and welcome to a Books Beside My Bed video. For anyone who is new here, I film one of these every week where I wrap up the last 7 days worth of reading, and for anyone who is very familiar with the series, welcome back. This is my reading week from the 18th until the 24th of April. I read 5 things this week, a total of 1,510 pages, and my yearly reading total is 153 books. This was a bit of a slower reading week for me, even though I read 5 things. I had a couple of days where I just didn't pick up anything at all, because it was the first week back of work and I was just tired and getting back into a routine. But I am really happy with the books that I read this week. The first book that I read this week was Rebel by Beverly Jenkins. This is my first Beverly Jenkins books. I know, please don't come after me. I will be reading more of her books because I really enjoyed this one. I ended up giving it 4.5 out of 5 stars. It is the first book in the Women Who Dare series, and I do have Wild Rain, which is the second book, which I'm hopefully going to read in the next month or two. It is the story of Belinda Lacey, who is a black woman from the North who, after the Civil War, finds herself working in the South. And she is there because she dreams of being a teacher and of helping to teach black children, but also black adults. And she finds that even though they now have freedom, that hasn't necessarily translated to every part of New Orleans, and it's really difficult. And there are lots of content warnings in here for discussions around slavery and also very blatant racism. And she crosses paths with a man called Drake, who comes from a very prominent black family. They are well known and for the most part well liked by everyone. And he ends up helping her to realize her dream and to make it a reality, and along the way they fall in love. I will say at the start of the story she is engaged to someone else who is currently overseas, and there's a whole story around it. So while when you first read it, it appears to be a story where she's cheating on her fiance, it's not that at all. You actually have to read the story to get it, but it was just wonderful, and I am looking forward to reading more Beverly Jenkins books in the future. And then I read Hot as Hades by Alicia Rye. This is her Hades and Persephone retelling. It's a novella, it's only about 105 pages long. It opens very quickly with Persephone literally dropping naked into Hades' lap in the underworld, and she has no idea how she got there. He has no idea how she got there because no one should be able to just randomly appear in the underworld. He's half tempted to keep her as a prisoner, and then he realizes who she is. And so she becomes a guest and she's staying in the underworld, and we find out that Zeus has a hand in all of this. And it's very short, it's very steamy. It's probably not necessarily the best Hades and Persephone retelling that I've read, but it was definitely an enjoyable one. And I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Then I read The Cleaner by Jessica Gaziella. This is an early review copy that I was sent by the author, and I absolutely adored it. So this is book 9 in the Professional series, which is a series about a group of people who all have very specialized skill sets. They work together in a business designed to help fix situations. So they cater to the very rich, and when things go wrong, they're called in to sort out the situation. The hero of the story is the cleaner from this business, and his name is Finn, and he is a former soldier who suffers from PTSD, and as a result that manifests in the obsessive compulsive need to clean things. So one, he's perfect for the job of cleaning up crime scenes, but it also carries over into most aspects of his life. And when he's having a bad day, he needs to clean. And I thought that part of this story was done really, really well, because he's very cognizant of it. He understands what he's doing. He understands why he's doing it. He just can't stop himself from that behavior. But he's found a way to make it work for him so that eventually he can do things like sleep and function on some level of, well, I don't want to say normal, because what is normal, but it allows him to function within society. This is his relationship with Poppy. Poppy is a true crime podcaster who talks about lots of local cases and things that are happening, and then on the side, not part of her podcast, she's investigating a serial killer where they all live. And she's made this connection because there's a whole lot of crime scenes that all smell the same, like the same chemicals have been used to clean the house, and these people have just disappeared, but no one's talking about it. As it turns out, the reason that they're so clean is it's the cleaning products that Finn uses when they're helping clients on cases. So to Poppy's mind, she's never met Finn, but she believes that he is a serial killer. Finn and his friends find out that someone is investigating them, and he can't help but try and find out a little bit more about this woman who is investigating the scenes that he's cleaned up. And he sort of insinuates himself into her life and then unintentionally begins to fall for her, and it's their relationship. I really enjoyed this one. I loved the dynamic that Finn and Poppy had. I adored it, and I really love Finn as a character. He's just a cinnamon roll who is trying to make his life work in the best way it can for him, and I adored it. So The Cleaner was one of my favourite reads for the week. And then I also read The Bones Beneath My Skin by TJ Klune, which I just loved. I started reading it on Friday night and I couldn't put it down. It was just one of those books that gripped me from start to finish and has left me with all of the feelings. And it's not one that I've heard many people talk about here on BookTube. So I'm really excited that I get to talk about it. It is a queer science fiction story with romance elements, and it was just absolutely beautiful. I will say there are content warnings in here for homophobic parents and comments. There's also a cult, and there is cult mass suicide, and there's also discussion around a murder-suicide that happened off the page pre the beginning of this story. In this story, we follow Nate, and the story's told entirely from his perspective. His father has just killed his mother and then killed himself, and the only thing that Nate was left was his father's car and a cabin that his mother has left him. And he's lost his job as a journalist for reasons that become clearer later on, and he really has nothing. So he decides to drive this car out to the cabin and just spend some time out there trying to reevaluate his life and figure out what he's going to do. It's in the middle of nowhere. It is far off the beaten path. And then when he gets there, he finds that there are two people currently living in this cabin. A man called Alex, who looks like a soldier, and a little girl called Artemis Darth Vader. They're on the run from bad people and they won't say why. And Nate sort of begrudgingly lets them stay on his property, and then things get really weird and really dangerous and they end up all on the run. And I can't say any more than that without spoiling the actual story, but it was just beautiful. The relationship that develops between Nate and Alex, who are initially very wary and very standoffish with one another, is just a wonderful progression. It's very slow. It takes the entire book to get there. And then by the time we get to the end, it's very much in line with TJ Klune's other books, that slow burn romance that is just beautifully told and well worth the effort and the journey it takes to get there. And then on top of that, you have this gorgeous little girl, Artemis, or Art, who is peculiar. And Alex is devoted to looking after her, and Nate becomes devoted to looking after her as well. I love this story. If you've read it, please come and talk to me about it, because I haven't heard anyone talk about it at all. And I fell in love with it. It was great, because I had no idea what this story was going to be about before I read it. And oh boy, I feel like I need to buy another TJ Klune book to add to my shelf, because this was just great. And then finally, the last book that I read this week was The Road Trip by Beth O'Leary. This was a review copy I had from NetGalley. I was really looking forward to it and I really enjoyed it, but it kind of missed the mark compared to something like The Flat Chair or The Switch. This is a second chance road trip story between Addie and Dylan, who met 2 years prior to the story beginning and had this whirlwind romance one summer in France. And then they went back home to England and they tried to make it work, and then something happened. Their trust was shattered and this relationship ended really badly. And now we're 2 years later, and Addie and her sister Deb are traveling to a friend's wedding, and Dylan and his best friend Marcus are also traveling in a separate car to the same wedding. And then Dylan rear ends Addie and Deb's car, and all of them have to end up road tripping to this wedding together. And there is also a fifth character who is attending the wedding, who Addie and Deb had offered to give a lift to. So you've got this totally random character thrown into the mix. The whole story is told into timelines, so you get the now and the then. So we're reading about the present day and the past day relationship between Addie and Dylan the whole way through, and slowly getting the reveal of everything that's gone on in the past. And I really liked that aspect of it. I actually thought that was quite great. The thing that I struggled with in this story was probably Marcus's character, and I think he was designed that way because he is a character who spent a lot of time trying to separate Dylan and Addie both in the past and currently in the present. So his presence in the book is a little bit jarring at times, especially since we're heading towards this second chance romance story. Like I said, it's compulsively readable. Beth O'Leary is a great writer. Her stories are very engaging and you want to keep reading them. This one did feel like it dragged a little bit in the middle, but sort of once you get past that, it was fine. But yeah, it was just an okay story for me, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. So those are the books that I read this week. In the comments, let me know if you have read any of these books or if you're planning on reading them in the future. Otherwise, I would love to hear what you have been reading in the last week or so. If you want to let me know that you were here but you don't want to leave a comment, can you leave me a car emoji? I hope that wherever you are in the world, you are staying safe and healthy, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.